Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm B. And today I'm going to be doing a wrap up of the books that I read in May, plus a June TBR, because I read a grand total of 3 books in the month of May. So I figured might as well just add in my June TBR to this, because yeah, slow reading month. Okay, actually no, it wasn't even a slow reading month. I'm a slow reader in general, and I was gone for 2 weeks at the end of May for my trip to Europe. I'm back clearly, and that's why there weren't a lot of books to show for the month of May. I thought I would read more on the trains and the planes, but honestly most of that time was spent sleeping because not a lot of sleep happened on the trip. We were very like go go go. So yeah, didn't read as many books this month as I anticipated, but that's totally okay. I am excited for this month because I'll be home for the whole month basically, because my work is online, my school is online, so I think I'll have a lot more time to read, and I cannot wait to show you guys the books that I plan on reading for this month because I'm just so excited. But anyway, let's start with a wrap up of the books that I read in the month of May, starting with, I don't remember if this was the first book I finished this month actually, but I have to talk about this book first. It is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I loved this book so much. In fact, I've been reading it for quite some time now. I think I started it in January and it is now May. I don't know if that's correct, but I definitely started it months ago, and it's just because I've been so busy with school when I started reading this, so I read it very sporadically. But I finished it this month. By this month I mean May, even though I'm filming this June 9th. Let's just pretend it's May. And oh my goodness, it was so good. This is my first Ashley Poston book. I know she wrote The Dead Romantics, which was on my TBR, but I never got around to it. But I'm definitely reading more of her books after this. You guys know I love my romances. This is my first magical realism romance novel, I think. And at first I thought that the magical realism element in this would be a little strange, but it worked so well. Basically, we follow the main character, Clementine West, kind of in the wake of her aunt passing away, and she moves into her aunt's apartment, and her aunt's apartment is magical. So she ends up waking up one morning to a random man in her house, Ewan, I think that's how you pronounce it. And after a moment of confusion, which very valid, she realizes that the apartment has brought her 7 years into the past. So she's meeting this man, Ewan, from 7 years ago. So that's the little magical realism element. And I thought it was a little strange. I was like, I don't know the point of that. Like, why do we have this 7-year slip? Like, what's the point? But it just made so much sense when you read the book, because it allowed this author to explore the theme of timing and growth and change, because Clementine is meeting this guy from 7 years in the past, and then at the same time there's the other timeline, which is the present, where she meets the present version of this guy, and things are different, things have changed. Like it says in the back, she wonders if it's 7 years too late. But yeah, I really liked seeing the dual timelines of her with Ewan, and then her trying to navigate meeting the present version of this man and how he's changed and how to navigate their present timeline and relationship. And it's just so freaking cute. I underlined so many lines in this book because, first of all, Ashley Poston's writing is so beautiful. Like, it's so beautiful. It feels kind of like a fairy tale, like whimsical, her prose, but also there were so many good life lessons in this. Like, I feel like this was way more than a romance. Honestly, the romance was probably like my least favorite part of this book. I wasn't like I loved them together, but I wasn't super invested in the two of them to be so for real. Like, there was no epilogue in this, which I usually love epilogues in romances, because then you're like, it's confirmed that the main characters live happily ever after. But this one didn't have one, and I didn't even really care that much, to be honest. But what I loved most about this book were the other topics it dealt with, like grief, obviously, because she's dealing with the aftermath of losing her aunt, who's very important to her, but also how she sort of lost part of herself along with her aunt, and how to kind of rekindle that spontaneity and fun in her life. And then also she's in the book publishing industry, and she's kind of having a job crisis of like, is this what I want to do in my life? Is this making me happy? I don't know. There's just so many good messages in this, so many good life lessons. And with all that, it still manages to be so comforting and warm. That's just how I felt reading this. It was like a warm hug, and it makes me want to read more books from her. I think I really want to read The Dead Romantics now. Yeah, and so I rated this, I think, a 4.5. I don't fully remember. I'll put my rating on the screen. I have my rating on Goodreads. I always rate the book right after and put it on Goodreads. I think the reason I didn't give a full 5 stars is because, like I said, I wasn't super duper like invested in the two of them together, like Clementine and Ewan. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, they're soulmates. Like, I didn't get that feeling that much. They were so cute together, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but it was still really cute. They were still really cute, but I loved the substance in this so much. So great start to the month for reading. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about that I read, I am like so late to, which it would not be me if I was reading a book like 50 million years after the hype, but it's Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This book, you guys, okay, another book that I read sporadically over the course of a few months because, again, school during the time that I was reading this, but oh my goodness, it was so good. If I had more time, I could probably read this in like a day, 2 days. It was so, I haven't had that like wow feeling from a book like this since probably like Hunger Games, Harry Potter. Like, it gave me a similar feeling to those books, although I wouldn't comp it too closely to those. I know someone said that you could comp it to Hunger Games, but I mean, was it Hunger Games or was, yeah. But while I think they're like, I can see why it would be comped to that, I don't think it was that similar. Like, this is its own thing, but it gave me that feeling. I guess what it is about it is that it feels like a movie. Like, it feels like you're literally watching a movie play out in your head, and you're following this main character who's underestimated but defies the odds. And so badass. Like, that's just what this book was. Basically, you're following Violet Sorrengail, who's the main character, as she goes to War College as a dragon rider. We're with her through the entering process, training, like all that. Like, it's just so entertaining. The world building is so cool. Like, this was a very easy fantasy read in the sense that the world building wasn't very heavy, but the whole like dragon rider aspect I found so cool. The dragons were so cool. They could like, I don't know if it's spoil, I don't think it is, but they could like communicate with their dragons like in their mind. Like, it was just, everything was so cool, and I loved following along her process because it was so gripping and entertaining because everything was so risky that they did. You didn't know what would happen next. Kept me on my toes, on the edge of my seat. Kept me on my toes. Is that even a saying? I don't know. And then also add the fact that she's already in a risky position trying to join the dragon riders with the size that she is, the lack of experience, but add to the fact that one of the squad leaders for the dragon riders happens to be the son of the man who her mother killed. Something like that. Like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but basically they have reasons to absolutely hate each other, and for her to believe that he completely wants to kill her. And that is Xaden. How do you pronounce Xaden, who is the love interest in this book. So I think you can kind of tell how that goes. Enemies to lovers, done so well. Like, it's hot, but there's also substance in it, which is my favorite. Like, there's gotta be substance, and there definitely is in their relationship. This was just what I saw someone say once, that they wish they could read this again for the first time, and I understand why. I wish I could read this again for the first, like, it's just the feeling I got reading this book was just wow. Like, I really liked it. I will say that towards the second half there were some slower parts where I was like kind of reading really fast because I was like, let's get back to the interesting stuff, but then again picked up at the end, and wow, there was a cliffhanger. Will I be reading the next book? Probably not, because I've heard terrible things about Iron Flame. But hey, if you've read Iron Flame and you think it's worth the read, let me know. But yeah, this was amazing. I want to see this as a movie so bad. I really hope they make a movie of this because I would watch it over and over again. It was so good. So yeah, my rating is a 5-star, in case that wasn't obvious. Okay, my third and final read of the month was Yellowface by R. Kwong. You guys, this book, I was so excited to read this ever since I found out the concept, which was just that the main character stole her friend's manuscript and decided to publish it as her own. And that's all I needed to know. I was like, I have so many questions. I'm intrigued. I will read this book. It's been on my physical TBR for quite some time now because I got this in August on my birthday, and I'm so glad I finally got around to reading it. Right from the first sentence of this book, it gets right into the plot, which I absolutely love when books do that. They don't beat around the bush. June Hayward, the main character, is hanging out with her friend Athena, and they're celebrating Athena's TV deal with Netflix the night that Athena dies. Same night that June also steals Athena's manuscript and decides that she will publish it as her own under her name, which is so messed up, and you're probably thinking, why would someone do that? But the way the author, like the narrator, walks you through what she's doing and why she's doing it is done in such a way that it blurs the lines between right and wrong, and at least for me, it makes me question, like, is what she's doing really that bad? She has a point with some of the things. She did edit it a bunch. She is telling a story that should be told. It's like, at the end of the day, she did steal a dead person's manuscript, which is not great, and publishing it as her own, but it's just the way that she's able to kind of convince you or show you how her perspective of what she's doing was really interesting and gripping to me. And throughout the novel, throughout everything that happens in the following of that, this book explores themes of race, identity, and appropriation in the publishing industry, as well as social media and like the effects that can have. As someone who plans to be an author, it was a little terrifying, the like public acclaim part of this book and like how easy it could shift, but it was so interesting to read about because it's kind of like an inside scoop into how it is for authors. And I just loved reading all of the little publishing details about like talking about potential movie deals or TV deals and like choosing a cover and going to press events and all of that stuff. But this was a satire, so it was a mix of reality but then also some like dramatic moment or dramatized moments and like horror and humor, and I don't know, someone described it as watching a train wreck unfold, and that's kind of what this felt like. It's hard to say I relate to the main character because she is very, like, some of the things she does are not great at all, but at the end of the day, she's human and she felt very human. The characters felt very real. This was a very interesting read is what I'll say, and it gave me insights into a lot of things I didn't know about, and I would say this is very much worth the read. My rating will be on the screen, but yes, this did not disappoint. I read this one really fast. I think I listened to this on audiobook, and the narrator really brought this to life for me. I feel like she sounded exactly like how I would picture June to sound, and like I said, I listened to it so fast. Like it was just that gripping. Would highly recommend this one, especially if you're a writer, because I feel like for me that made it way more interesting. Like, I love a book that centers around someone who writes, and this one was heavy on that topic, so loved this one. Okay, now to talk about my June TBR, the books I plan on reading this month. I'm literally so excited. Starting off with the books that I'm currently already reading and will probably finish this month that you may have seen in some vlogs, like They Both Die at the End. This will be finished very soon. I chose this for my May TBR but didn't get around to finishing it in May, so it will be finished in June. So yeah, I won't say my thoughts on it just yet because that will be included in a June wrap up, but this book is set in an alternate future where you get a call within 24 hours of you dying, and it follows two main characters, Mateo and Rufus, who get this call and spend their last day together. Again, thoughts to come when I'm done. I don't want to spoil anything. The second is Happy Place. I'm a little way into this. I've been listening to it on audiobook, but on Libby, which is my library app, and my loan expired. So I am back on hold. I don't think I will be getting the audiobook anytime soon, so I will just read the physical, which is great. I do love reading physical copies of books, but this was Emily Henry's release from last year, I think it was. And I love Emily Henry's books because they're romances, but they're always so much more than romances. Anyway, I really love this book. I love the time that I'm reading this at now because I feel like it's a perfect time in my life. Not only is it summer and this feels very much like a summer book, but also the characters are around my age and it's about friendships and change and love and growth. It's a second chance romance, which I don't read a lot of, but I really, really love how it's done in this so far. Oh, I'm not supposed to this isn't my review, so I'm gonna stop right there. I'm not gonna share any more of my thoughts. I'm also not even close to being done it. So, but yeah, basically it's about Harriet and Wynn, who are part of this friend group, and they go to the cottage. I think it's annually, but this year's different because they broke up 5 months prior, but they don't want to tell their friends that because this might be their last summer at the cottage because it's going up for sale, so they don't want to ruin the vibes. So it's like fake dating in here, but I'm excited to see how this explores friendships for the most part because that's a huge subplot part of this book. So yeah, again, you will see these and a lot of the books that I'm gonna read for this month in a bunch of vlogs. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe for all the fun videos that I have planned for this month. I'm so excited. It's gonna be a really good reading month. The next book on my TBR for June, I do not own a physical copy of, but it's Blue Sisters by Coco Mellers, who is the author of Cleopatra and Frankenstein. I've heard so many great things about that book. Have I read it yet? No. Don't know if I will ever get around to reading it. We'll see. But this book I want to read so badly, and it's because I was on on my trip and we stumbled upon a bookstore. Of course, I will find a bookstore anywhere, and if I see one, I will go in it. And then my friend who's on the trip was like, this is a book that I really want to read, and I read the back of it and I was like, immediately, sounds like a book that I need to read. Basically, three estranged sisters return to their home in New York after their beloved sister's death, and because that hits close to home, I really want to read this book in particular because I'm hoping I'll find consolation in it. I'm really gravitating towards books that deal with grief because it's a really difficult and strange and isolating thing to navigate, and reading about different people's experiences with it has been kind of comforting in a way. So, and especially because this one is specifically about the loss of their sister, I feel like it's just a book that I need to read. So bumped that all the way to the top of my TBR once I saw that book. I want a physical copy, but I'm really trying not to spend any money, especially after my trip where I spent so much money. So I think I'm going to be reading this as an ebook, and then if I really, really need it, I will buy it as physical. That's just how it's gonna go for now. Another book that I want to read that I don't have a physical copy for is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. You guys already know I love Ali Hazelwood. She is my top romance author. Her books are just bang, bam, 5-star for me. It's just the way she writes is incredible. It's so good. And this story of hers is her newest release. It's a little bit different. I think she said it's spicier. I follow her on Instagram and I saw her like announce this book, and it just, the way she announced it and described it and she was so excited for it, like it just made me so excited to read it. So I was like, I need to read this book. I think it's kind of like a Friends with Benefits kind of vibe, but it's like much more than that. It still follows the whole STEM world she's got going, where all of her main characters are STEM characters, and I love that. But this one gives me like Romeo Juliet vibes. It's like a forbidden, I was gonna say love, but it's an affair kind of thing, where basically the main character works for a company that the love interest guy company or something is trying to take over, something like that. So basically, moral of the story, these people are on opposing forces basically, but they can't deny that there is a really strong, palpable attraction between them. So they have a no strings attached affair, and they have a hard set deadline, which is the day that one of their companies will eventually prevail. So I can already see that it's gonna be, feelings are gonna get involved in this no strings attached affair, and I just know I'm gonna love this book, so I'm adding that to my June TBR. Really want to read that. The next book on my TBR is The American Roommate Experiment. As you can see, I've already started it, by Elena Armas, because this was supposed to be in my May TBR but didn't get around to it. But I already love it so far. I'm not gonna spoil. I've already only read a few pages. I just love her writing style in it, Elena Armas, and this concept is just so good. I love it. It's the sequel to The Spanish Love Deception, so it follows the main character from the first one's best friend, Rosie, and she's staying at Catalina, who's the main character in The Spanish Love Deception's apartment while she's away because her like ceiling caved in, something like that. Like there was something that happened at her apartment and she had to move out immediately. So she stays at Catalina's apartment, but on the first day, Catalina's cousin shows up, Lucas, and claims that Catalina is letting him stay in the apartment as well. So they're gonna have to live together and share the space. And she's also a romance writer who's in a slump, and he's gonna try to like help her out of it, I think. It sounds perfect. Cannot wait to finish this month. I'm only like 30 pages in and I'm already loving it so much. It's so funny. Like I laughed out loud so many times. So I'm very excited to read this and give you guys my full review when I'm done it. The next book on my June TBR is The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest. This will be a buddy read with my friend Annika, and I'm so excited to buddy read this with her. We both read The Neighbor Favor, which I got in my like ultimate book video, and I literally loved it so much. It was such a good book, and she also loved it. So when this one came out, which follows the sister of the character from the other book, we were like, we need to read it and we need to read it together. And it's just there's something comforting about going into a book knowing you're already gonna love the writing style, because I love the writing style of the first one so much, so I know what to expect for this book's writing style, and I know I'm gonna love it. It just sounds so good. This one's another second chance romance, so I guess I'm reading a lot more of those now, which again, a trope I don't read a lot of, but this sounds so cute. Violet, the main character, bumps into her high school sweetheart again, and they have a passionate, reckless night together, and then when they realize that their careers can both benefit from them pretending to be a couple, they go with it. That's kind of like the central plot. The tagline is, what happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas. I just know this is gonna be a really, really fun book, so I'm really excited for this one. We're gonna start reading it this week actually, so very exciting. And then the last book on my TBR, I know I have a very ambitious TBR, but I do have a lot of time to read this month, so we'll see. Maybe I can get around to all of them, but it is Shatter Me by Tahera Mafi. Again, chose this for my May TBR, didn't get around to it, but I really want to read it anyway. It's a dystopian. Love me a dystopian. Haven't read one in so long, and I've just heard like anytime I tell someone I'm gonna read this book, I hear so many good things about it, so I can't wait to get into it. So that is it for my May wrap up and my June TBR. I've been clearly so happy with the books that I've been reading lately, and I'm excited for another month of reading, and I'm excited for all of these books on my TBR and all the reading vlogs and challenges to come. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already, and don't forget to turn on the post notification bell so you're notified the next time I upload. Also, let me know what books you guys are currently reading. I'm always on the hunt for book recs, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!